Minister.
And
you don't have to take the 5 minutes.
No, I will try to be brief, in fairness, to allow the Deputy to come back on the bill that he's tabling. Just to respond to Deputy Boyd Barrett's comments, if I could, in the round. You know, we were talking at the Housing Agency conference about sustainability in housing delivery. And sustainable is a contested space. It's a political space. I mean, it has many different meanings, you know, economic sustainability, social sustainability, etc. It's not a neutral political term. But we have very fundamental different ideas of a sustainable housing market. You want a kind of single source solution, one source of finance, one source of delivery. I think we need multiple streams to protect us from shocks that we haven't even considered yet, that could come in the future, because in the past, for social housing, we relied on a single stream of delivery and it didn't work. I mean, we can all agree that Part 5 didn't work before under previous governments, because the government came to over-rely on it for the delivery of social housing, but that didn't happen because developers bought out of their responsibility. And we don't want to go back to that. And that is the huge risk that's inherent in this bill. So Part 5 didn't work, and I recognise and I welcome that Fianna Fáil have now acknowledged and accept the positive changes that we did make to Part 5 in the last number of years. I think it's important that we recognise that local authorities often acquire additional homes in a new development beyond the 10% that's provided under the Part 5 obligation. I think home aspiration is incredibly important, but I think we have to recognise as well that in the future more people will rent in this country. It will become more of the mix of housing because we need it as more of a mix, and so in doing so, we have to put greater protections for renters, longer term leases, cost rental, stronger tenant laws, a stronger RTB to protect tenants' rights, but also to protect landlords' rights as well. All of these things are needed as we move to a mature housing sector. I also think that it's important that we ask ourselves, in fact, well, what is the right number of social housing homes to be built each year at the moment as we ramp up supply? Is it 1 in 4? Is it 1 in 5? Because that's where we're at. I accept that when we get to 35,000 homes a year as output, which we'll get to in 2 or 3 years' time, that it might be the time to revisit this, when the Land Development Agency has been in operation for a couple of years, when other things might be happening in the wider economy. Of course, we must always revisit our policies to make sure that they're working and that they're current, and that unintended consequences that weren't thought of at the time haven't developed in the meantime. I think looking at the one-stage cap, while there are some potential risks in it, I think it's something that is worthy of consideration, and the Deputy knows from our engagement at the time of the budget that we are doing that, provided we can do it in line with the Public Spending Code. That work continues and will come to a conclusion very soon. But I would urge caution when it comes to a bill like this and progressing it. The first is that we don't want to increase the cost of building houses at this time. That is not what we want to do. We've done a number of things to try and decrease the cost of building, and now we want to get those homes built. And we don't want to build in further uncertainty or further costs for builders up and down the country at this crucial time. We don't want to make homes more unaffordable for the vast majority of people, because as it stands today, 80,000 people qualify for social housing, and therefore there are more people who don't qualify for social housing, and we don't want to make their aspirations for home ownership or a secure place to live in less tangible, less achievable, because of the unintended consequences of the provisions in this bill. And what we really don't want to do is to once again fall back on the private sector for the provision of social housing, come to rely on them too much by bringing in the provisions that we have in this bill. Let's not go backwards. We have multiple delivery streams for social housing. This year, more than 4,000 new social housing homes will be built, but the stock of social housing will increase by 8,000 homes. Next year, the stock will increase by 10,000 homes. These are positive developments for people who are in emergency accommodation, people who are on the housing list, people who are in overcrowded accommodation, to get a home, get their own front door and their own key. And in tandem with that, we have now local authorities bringing forward public land for the development of affordable housing under the affordability scheme that was agreed at the budget with Fianna Fáil. And we also now have the Land Development Agency, which is not a response to the crisis, because it should always have been there, but will help in bringing forward public land in high demand areas to bring forward a social mix. It's not Deputy Boyd Barrett selling off land to developers. We're the developer. It's bringing forward public land for homes for the general public. I think we should support that principle.